You're back with Nightline. A new lesson in education funding has been delivered by the government. It today revealed how it's going to redistribute $107 million among our schools next year when bulk funding gets rubbed out.
Of all the country's schools, Papakura's Rosehill College faces the biggest cut. It says it finds it hard to swallow that it's had more than $300,000 slashed from its budget and now has just 6 months to find that funding elsewhere.
I'd love to ask the Minister how he can say that he has been fair on us by taking $300,000, over $300,000 off our budget. And I find that a bit of a disgrace, really, for him to do that at this time of the year.
South Auckland's Otahuhu College has been the big winner. It gets more than $500,000.
They need to reflect on whether we really need to help these students that don't have as many resources as other students have, and whether we really want to tackle the problem head on and solve the problem. If we leave it alone, if we don't do these sorts of things, it's going to blow out to something that's really quite a problem.
The government's insisting that it's not punishing those schools that opted for bulk funding. It says it's simply levelling up the playing field for those schools that are less well off.
That sort of money in communities which find it really hard to raise $500 at a garage sale will make an enormous difference.
Otahuhu is top of the winners list, $516,000, an increase of 28%. Viscount Primary and Fairburn schools, both in South Auckland, also get a windfall. The three big losers are also in Auckland. Rosehill College gets an estimated $332,000 slashed from its funding. Rangitoto, our largest school, and Onehunga High also lose out. Today, the Prime Minister personally delivered a funding document to her former school at Te Pahu in the Waikato. She says the policy's all about getting schools back on an even keel.
The ones who've been missing out all these years are coming up, and some of the ones who've had an advantage over others are getting their funding adjusted down a bit.
Otahuhu students will almost immediately benefit from the windfall. The school plans to hire a few more much-needed teachers. Gideon Porter, 3 News.
The all clear tonight on travelling to Fiji. Now George Speight's in custody and the Army's in control. Our Ministry of Foreign Affairs says tourists shouldn't fear most holiday resorts, but it's reserving judgment on the capital.
Travel agents are again able to promote Fiji as a holiday destination. The New Zealand government cautiously lifted its travel warning this afternoon, effective immediately. And travel agents are looking forward to getting back the business they lost.
Very pleased. We have a lot of people who have been holding off and praying that this would happen so that they can actually go away.
The areas that tourists can safely return to are the western and northern ones, and are where the majority of the resorts are anyway. But the all clear still comes with a warning. The Foreign Affairs Ministry statement says New Zealanders are advised against holiday and non-essential travel to Suva, the central division of Vita Levu, the eastern side, and on the island of Vanua Levu. The security situation there remains potentially volatile. During the coup, about 80% of people booked for Fiji cancelled. Julie Robertson says families are traditionally the biggest travellers to Fiji, but recently parents have been very hesitant about going there.
The main comment we've been getting is that they're not prepared to risk their children. They go on their own, but they wouldn't take their children up there.
Within a fortnight, New Zealanders can expect to be bombarded with cheap travel packages in an effort to get visitors back to Fiji in time for the September school holidays. Andy Brotherston, 3 News.
And it's holidays of the honeymoon kind that might interest the women in this next story. That's if they finish their shopping in time. Thousands of brides-to-be have rushed down the aisle, not of a church, but of a department store. It's all because of a super sale of more than 1,300 designer wedding gowns. Brides began queuing before doors opened at 8 a.m, then stampeded the racks. Many showed little confidence in their impending nuptials, grabbing as many gowns as they could. With no time to lose, many even tried them on in the middle of the store. No blushing brides here. Most racks were stripped bare within 2 minutes. To sport, and the official Olympic timing has been put to the test. Early today, a group of workmen downed tools for a place in starting blocks at Homebush Stadium.
With 100 tonnes of equipment, 250 technicians have arrived from around the world to carry out the most crucial of Olympic jobs, timing every race.
Starting block is hooked up through this cable.
They've revealed an Olympic first. If a runner reacts to the gun inside 100 milliseconds, it's a false start. And now everyone will know about it.
This beep will also be heard by anybody in the stadium.
With the athletes preparing for trials, the new system was shown off by a few ring-ins.
Do you know what you're doing? No. I presume I'm going to run.
Down there?
Yeah.
Benny, Charlie and the boys from Olympic Construction.
Yeah, this is exactly why I'm a workman, not a sportsman.
Quite a few seconds outside Olympic qualifying, they demonstrated the new digital camera finish. From the computer to the people, within seconds, the photo of the finish will appear in the stadium's big screens. 30 minutes later, it'll be on the internet. The world will also be watching these.
Northern side to the new truss, over.
The giant Olympic rings being winched onto the harbour bridge, piece by piece. 9 more nights and it's done.
And an excellent Olympic build-up tonight for several Kiwi athletes. Tony Hodgkinson and Chris Donaldson both comfortably won on the track in Sydney. In the 1500 metres final, Hodgkinson easily kept ahead of the best Australia could throw at her.
But Hodgkinson will win the race, but the battle for the Olympic spot, Crowley's in the team, Jamieson will be in.
And in the 100 metres, Dunedin's Chris Donaldson comfortably won his heat to qualify for tomorrow's semi-final.
At the moment, Donaldson looks to have Richardson running pretty well out wide as Hoffman, but Donaldson wins in 10.44.
Stay on our track and we'll take you to the Spanish cafe that served up a series of world-chilling CDs, and we'll check out that mix of martial arts and dance.